Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to EarlyBirds Weekly Explorer webinar. My name is Chris Poria. This webinar series is run by EarlyBirds team to promote disruptive leaders, especially innovators, mostly focused on startups and scale-ups who have a minimum viable product or more. Today, our guest is a startup from Germany called mysupply. With its system intelligence, mysupply automates the sourcing process, including supplier search, offer evaluation, finding the right negotiation strategy, and execution. By doing that, they reduce process costs, achieve savings for their customers. Let's welcome Andreas Zimmerman, founder and CEO of mysupply. Andreas studied business informatics and after working in various management consultancies, founded the Change Point Consulting firm in 2008. In recent years, the consulting firm has grown into a group of companies, including mysupply and a network of procurement startups called SupplyTechs. Andreas will share mysupply story and solutions for around 15 to 20 minutes, and then we will have a Q&A session for approximately 10 minutes at the end. Attendees, please share your questions through the chat box in the meantime. Handing over to Andreas. Andreas, over to you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me today. So it's a pleasure, of course, to get up on midnight or not go to sleep and have a little presentation in Australia. And so it's, of course, a great chance for us. Thank you so much for your trust. I would like to share a little presentation, and I hope you can see it right now.
Yes.
Great. So I'd like to tell you a bit about what we are doing, about what we do with mysupply, and tell you a bit the story behind, give you a little impression about our journey that we're having today. Please feel free to ask as many questions as you like, and so I try to answer everything what I can. So of course, every good story starts with a person, which is in that case my father. So my father was in procurement for about 40 years, and he was procurement manager, and he loves negotiating. And when my father, so this was one of the pictures when he was just started with his job, and during these days, so he retired, and he told me when we sat together on a Sunday morning, said, Andreas, so I'm really happy that it's done right now. Said it was horrible the last years. We had so many things to do in procurement, especially in the sourcing area. So there were so many things we need to buy, and we didn't even have really a chance to do really good negotiations because we are just lacking the time. And so of course this gave me a certain impression about what is happening in procurement, and so this is the reason why I came up finally with the idea of mysupply. So what my father explains me in why was that on the one hand, you have a lot of hours that you're spending in procurement, and especially in the sourcing area, and there is a high potential of getting these working hours reduced by digitization from my point of view, and as well increasing the savings, so where you can use more intelligent negotiation types and also have another savings potential of around 11%. And if you look into a worldwide picture of this is incredible figures. What is the potential of automation in sourcing, what is existing? And this is where we were pointing at with mysupply and exactly trying to solve these problems. So the idea with mysupply more or less is you have a certain demand in a company, and which is coming from any demanding side or just the procurement side, and you want to come up with a good deal in the end. So this is the story. And so what we try to do to automate this process in receiving, evaluating, and negotiating the offers. And how this works, this is something I'm going to tell you now. So just coming for the picture of where we were coming from and where we plan to go. On the one hand, we have an MVP in place right now, so we are trying to figure out how this works, how we can automate procurement for about 1.5 years right now. And these MVP leads to a highly automated sourcing already today. So we're very close to get the next thing up and running, which is the first real version of mysupply 1.0, which will then result in a fully automated sourcing. And we're really very hoping to have it available in April 21, so very, very soon. And we will start doing the demos for the system, for the new system, just by March. And so very sorry that I can't tell you and show you exactly how this works, but I think I can really give you a good idea in any case. Furthermore, the next level we aim to achieve is having an autonomous sourcing. That really means that the full sourcing process from start to end is run fully autonomous by a system. This can be very good, be implemented if you really own the category very much and have a really an idea who is your suppliers and how the game in these category works. And so we really aim to already have the first autonomous case by the end of 21. So give you an idea about what all is part of mysupply. So it starts with a tender, goes to the evaluation of the tender, and the very strong part of it is the negotiation part. And so it starts in the very early stage of this process with just coming a demand from an internal customer or from the buyer that starts with a tender. Of course, if you already have something similar, what you have already bought in the past, you can just easily copy it to make it very easy to start with something. And what we added here right now is a supplier search, which will very quickly be able to have a database or data of about 30 million supplier in the back, where you can search for your special demand and add additional suppliers to your search. And the next phase in the enhanced evaluation, we are trying to help the buyer or the demanding side to evaluate the offers. So, for example, if you have certain offers, and there's one criteria, which is, for example, the sustainability or a risk that you have in. These data in terms of sustainability or risk can be gathered from several different sources. So, for example, there's companies we're working with where the suppliers are listed or can be listed to give them a score on certain items in terms of sustainability or whatever. And these data are automatically put into the system, and so this helps for evaluating the offers. So if you're from procurement, you know that sometimes it's also very difficult if you're having a lot of items in such a tender. So maybe sometimes it's 150, 200 items, and maybe you have 10 or 12 or 15 or how much ever suppliers bidding on some of these items, but not all of them. And this makes it necessary to build lots out of these different offers for the certain items. And therefore we have a lot creation algorithm, which then easily just is pushing a button and then will create these lots to continue working of them and to make it very easy not to spend so much time on an Excel list, for example, to get these items configured. And then the funny piece of mysupply really starts right now. So on each of these lots, a strategy engine is adapted on. So for each of these lots, mysupply defines a strategy how to negotiate best. So, and there's a high variety of things what you can do and how negotiation makes sense. So what we do is we use algorithmic game theory to understand the situation of where especially that lot is in. So, for example, how much competition do you have in this lot? Are there very many suppliers who are bidding on this lot? How much pressure do these suppliers have? How much margin do these suppliers have? And of course, we are also gathering data from the past, which makes it easier to understand how these suppliers will potentially negotiate. And so this results in a recommendation or a suggestion of the strategy engine, which will say, all right, this is a good case for example, doing an e-auction, or this one should be better run with an bot. And then in the next case, we exactly have this negotiation engine, and where we are exactly looking into this. And so the selected strategy or the selected negotiation type will be chosen, and the negotiation engine will do the negotiation. So this means that, for example, if you have a good competition, that might happen that in that case, a good e-auction might be very, very reasonable and will be very powerful negotiation type. But there are many cases where an e-auction won't be the right thing. And therefore, a bot negotiation might be much more reasonable. So we are structuring these two pieces, especially all those the digital negotiation types that we were having, like e-auctions or sealed bids. This is one piece of the cake. And the other piece of the cake, the dynamic negotiation types, like the bot auctions or the bot negotiations that we're having, is the other piece of the cake. And therefore, it has high advantages using these bots, because if you're running such a bot, you can very much understand during a negotiation what the other party is doing, what the supplier is doing. That means, for example, that if he's moving the mouse very much and all these kind of things, all these behaviors that he's doing, and also the things other suppliers are doing during the same negotiation, will help the negotiation engine based on AI to produce better results time after time. And so so we are currently building a self-learning bot who is exactly able to do very clever negotiations. And so in the end is the idea to really understand and analyze the sweat on the keyboard of the supplier. And this is what the supplier, so what the buyer normally is doing on his own, And this is what we are trying to do. Based on AI and based with mysupply. So many customers have huge RFX systems already in place and they love it. So this is the reason why we also say, all right, if you don't want the full piece of the cake, you are not willing to use any other system, then you can just use mysupply in the backbone, just the strategy engine and the negotiation engine, and everything is just integrated into the RFX system of the customer. So this makes it also very easy. So there's some interfaces work, of course, but we can really easily interact with a couple of ERP systems, and this should not be a big deal to do a good integration of ERP systems here. So just giving you an idea where mysupply is in the market and for what kind of products mysupply is a good choice. So in the market that at least we have in Europe, so of course SAP, Ariba is very strong, Synitate, Coupa, Jagger, it's big brands, but they have just a very low automation. But they are focusing on the strategic spend, the tail spend, and of course also the technical spend in the middle. And there are some competitors just also going into the more automated. Like Kielwa is a very good example. They're doing an amazing job, especially for optimizing the purchasing or the sourcing for the strategic spend. BidOps from the US is another good example. But what we're going to do with mysupply is mostly focusing on the tail spend and on the technical spend, and which is just an area where, from our point of view, the highest automation potential is. Just give you an idea what we did already with our MVP. So face mask was a big topic. It was possible to do a great auction, which saved about 50%. We, on the other hand, had a great auction which saved 19% in the matter of machine stretch film. And there were a lot of things that already happened. We had a couple of customers with really a turnover of about 300 million, and we reduced the tail spend. And we increased the savings in tail spend a lot. And there were already a couple of companies trusting in our MVP. Just mention the early start just in some words. But of course, we are estimating that when we start with mysupply 1.0, so we are not in the sales for the MVP in any case right now anymore. We're just waiting for the release, because a lot of customers just mentioned, all right, this is what we were looking for. And of course, we are hoping to run into a good success. Give you an idea about the pricing. So we have a pricing based on users. So we have a small license, which is about 300 euro per month per user, and which it goes up to about 1,000 euro per month per user. So there's a lot of possible things you can do with mysupply in terms of all the standard things already with standard workflows. What we also try to do is, of course, helping the customers on the one hand getting a good ERP interfaces established, and on the other hand getting their individual workflows. That means they have of course they have their own processes in their category, which have really specific things in terms of processes for getting the data in. So how to get the demand from the demanding side, how to establish approval processes, and also other specific things. And what you can do is we build individual workflows. And so that, or many individual workflows also for further customers that, because of course in the categories they have different demands. And this is what we try to figure out, how these individual workflows, of course, could really easily help customers getting exactly what they need. So, for example, there's customers who are just pointing at a bot at the time being. So this is for them, first of all, the most important thing, that they get a bot established right away, because this is whatever a goal. And so this is all possible with our individual workflows. Give you an idea of our team so far. We are based in Hamburg, Germany, but we have a site in Bulgaria, in Sofia, especially on the development side. And so, but most of the team is spread all over Germany. And yeah, so we are growing, and yes, hopefully there will be a couple of more colleagues coming in during the next month. Yes, by the way, I started with my father. I'm more or less ending with my father. This is a picture of my father today, and he loves mysupply, but I'm sure this won't be a surprise. Yes, this is my contact data. Just mentioned briefly. So mysupply is also part of the Supply Techs network, with about 35 startups so far. This network is also growing, and so what we try to do and achieve with this network is having a wide spread of procurement startups, and yeah, of course, getting a lot of interaction with our customers, and bringing in a combined potential in new procurement ideas. All right, that's everything from my side. I just saw in the chat, I don't see any questions. Is this right? Or Chris, do you see any questions?
Thank you, Andreas. And our first question is, as a SaaS solution, where is the data retained? And is there an option for the data to be retained in a specific country?
So currently the data is retained in Germany. So it's a German server run by our hosting company here in Germany. And of course, potentially, it's of course also possible to get a white label solution, for example. And but of course, data protection is key for us, and so the data protection rules in Germany are pretty strict. But of course, there could be other solutions, of course, in other ways of storing the data as well.
Okay. So there's another question coming in from Suren. Can mysupply handle engineered products where customers provide specifications?
Yes. Yes, of course it's important how to handle these data and what is very specific. Of course, you can upload everything what you want to, but normally we have where we didn't face any problems so far.
Excellent. Our next question coming from Joe. Is there a dominant sector where you see uptake for mysupply, for example, defense, etc.?
It's difficult to say. I think what we have as a solution is very flexible, especially with the workflows that we're working with. And so currently we have of course more industry in Germany, and this is of course our home turf where we're starting with. And so there were a lot of so most of the customers are coming from more or less an industry sector, but it's a widespread. And of course, I think the most important thing is that you have a lot of POs during the year, and the more you have, the bigger the savings you have, of course. And yeah, so I can't say this is the sector and this is the only one.
Okay, great. Guys, if you have any questions, please type in your question in the chat box. So we got next question, Andreas, coming from Gordon. What size deal does it become economical to use mysupply?
It could be really little. Normally we say it starts becoming economical. So because we are having user licenses, if you have just coming from the savings perspective makes it very easy. So you just can calculate you have of a minimal cost of the minimal license is about 300 euro. And this is the savings you at least need to take in. And if you're coming from around 11% of savings, which then needs to be 300 euro, then we are starting with a volume of not more than 3,000 euro per month. And this is really little. And so, of course, at this point in time, we estimate it to be very successful, even though if you're not having only the big volume.
Okay. Our next question is coming from Dennis. Do you have any case study for a procurement project?
A case study for a procurement project?
Yeah, where somebody might have used mysupply.
Yes, as I mentioned, two of these examples that we're having. For a couple of other customers, we just can't name them. We already had a case in Brazil where a big machine was bought using mysupply with Brazilian suppliers. This was, from my point of view, an interesting story because from our point of view, it's far away. As I mentioned, we have a couple of cases where we can, in average, say we are better than having savings of 11%. The average was more or less at 20% that we had, during the last negotiation that we had with mysupply.
Great. Thank you, Andreas. And the next question coming from Suren again. He's saying that he was involved in a development of a similar product called, I think, Requis. How does mysupply compare, and is it a competitor?
So I actually don't know Requis, honestly. So what the competitors I know are mostly the big companies that are mainly the drivers in procurement, like SAP Ariba and so on and so on. But there is just smaller companies coming up. So if it comes to, there are companies I know which just focus on making the tender very easy. There are other companies who are more in the negotiation sector and try to optimize the negotiation. So, but honestly, I don't know too many companies who are trying to build this bridge between an easy negotiation, easy sourcing process, also with the automated negotiation in the end. Normally, it's just the first part, or more or less very high end, the last part, but not the bridge between. So honestly, I don't see any competitors who know exactly what we do.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much, Andreas, for your time. And we are done with the time for today. Really appreciate your time taking, especially for your late evening. So I hope that you will get people coming back to you with questions, and hopefully we will be in touch soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was really a pleasure joining you here.
Thank you, Andreas. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.